I'm back.
Every time I walk out that door, every time I interact with anybody new, my purpose is to help change.
It's time to celebrate life. If you know that you're in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know you want better for your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you have what it takes to be in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you are not just trying to be good for you, but for those around you, it's time to stand up. As a matter of fact, look to the person to your left and tell them you are enough.
I want to help you change, and just like you change, every time I interact with somebody, they help me change. It's no different than if I met an individual and they had 4 quarters and they needed change, or if I had $1 and they had 4 quarters, I need to change. We can swap the money. The value is still the same. They still got $1, I still got $1, but we both exchanged something, and it was a change for both of us. So every time I walk out that door, I inspire to help change lives just as much as lives have changed me.
Y'all been listening to the wrong people, watching the wrong things all your life, and it's time to put to rest all those negative thoughts, because you are enough. It's time to put to rest that self-doubt, because you are enough. It is time to get rid of that negative energy, because you are enough. It is time to stop listening to people that don't have the best interests of you in your life, because you are enough. So let's have a moment of silence. I want everybody to understand that you are the person that's in charge of your life. Everything that you have inside of you to be who you're supposed to be in life. You have a destiny, and that destiny can only be accomplished through you, by you, and only you, with the help of God. When you realize that you are the person you are, because you're not a carbon copy, there's only one you. They try to put you in a box. Society tries to put you in a box, but you can't be in a box. How can you be in a box when there's only one you? But then they tell you, think outside the box. What I'm trying to get you to understand is there is no box.
I want to pass on the things that I have to the generations behind me. By the time it's time for me to get called home and go to the grave, I want to be empty. I believe in bankrupting the cemetery, so I can't take this knowledge with me, because the cemetery is already full of brilliant ideas and unwritten books and innovative ideas. I can't take this with me, so I'm trying to leave it all here as Billy Graham Jr. to the next generation so somebody else can carry it on. And we are back, man. Oh man, I miss you all. When I say I've been trying to figure out who can we bring on this show that can inspire you with information that, let's be honest, for lack of better words, it's missing across the various communities all around the world, of certain things that you need to not just better yourself, but leave your family in a better situation. So the only thing I could think of for the individual that could inspire us to do something and change something about our life in a financial aspect. And when I say financial, yes, I know everybody's money's tight. Everybody doesn't have money to just throw around, but there are certain things in life that you need, not just to make yourself secure, but your family secure and the generations behind you to be secure. It's one of those ways that many people have built generational wealth. But don't get me to try and explain it to you, because I'm going to mess it up. I'm a butcher and all that. So I brought in an expert, so that not only he could teach me, but teach us how to make better financial decisions when it comes to our family, friends, loved ones, those that we're going to leave behind. So I bring to you not only the greatest man that I've met, and I'll explain that later, but the one, the only, Mr. Dan Island.
Hey, what's going on, big world? What's going on, big dog? How you doing?
Man, blessed and highly favored, brother.
I know that's right. I don't know if I deserve your introduction, but thank you for the kind words. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words.
So before I even get into those questions in that background, I'm gonna give everybody a little piece of something. So Dan is trying to trying to downplay it, but I got to tell the truth, because if you ever heard this man speak the word of God, you would kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. But before I even go into that, I'll let him touch on that a little bit himself. So before we get started, can you please tell the world who is Mr. Dan Island?
Well, Dan Island, West Philadelphia, born and raised, from the same neighborhood as Will Smith, West Philadelphia, Cobbs Creek Parkway. So joined the Air Force when I was about 18 years old. Air Force, I spent 17 in my 20 years overseas, where I met this man of God. So during my tours, I was stationed in England. I was stationed in Turkey. I came to Kansas for a little while and then went back overseas to Japan. And then my last tour, I was in Aviano, Italy. Shortly after I landed in Aviano, the Lord placed on my heart a desire to start a church. And shortly thereafter, about a year later, literally a year after I landed in Aviano, Italy, I started a church, Lighthouse Christian Fellowship. Lighthouse Christian Fellowship was a strip club before we walked in the place. We walked in there and turned it into a full-fledged 100% church. It was a place where the word of God was studied, the presence of God is sought, and the power of God was seen. After 10 years of ministry, my wife and I, we decided it was time for a little bit of a change. It was a change anyway, because things happened in the Aviano school system where she had to go. So she went left, I went right, came back to Kansas for a little while, and then became a serial entrepreneur. So I started a couple of businesses, and one of those businesses, the Urban Life Insurance Agency.
Wow.
So there you go.
So I okay, we got to go back, because I won't, because somebody out there listening is like, wow, that's a lot. How do you even get to that? So can we rewind back?
Yeah, rewind.
You went to the military and also serial entrepreneur now.
Yes.
What was your upbringing like? Because you said, like you said, where Will Smith is from.
Yeah.
We know who he is, but what about your upbringing made it to where you got all these different things going these different ways?
So my upbringing is probably the upbringing of every urban kid, every youth that grew up in the hood. I wanted to do something with my life. So I saw a pattern developing over and over again, generation after generation, and I did not want to fall into the same pattern. So because I didn't want to fall into the same pattern, I had an uncle of mine that was in the Air Force, and me and my grandmother visited him, and he looked like he was doing good. So so I said, okay, let me get a piece of that. So I joined the Air Force. By the grace of God, I needed to score 135 points on my ASVAB. I scored a 133, and they just had grace and wrote a waiver. Next thing you know, I was marching. So there you go. So joined the Air Force, not knowing anything about finances, not knowing anything about money. I didn't know anything about stocks. I didn't know anything about bonds. I didn't know too much about saving. Never had a credit card. So all of those things, when I was approached with them, it was a trap. For your listeners who know anything about DPP, DPP was the first credit card that I had. 0% interest. I loved it. And 5 years after that, it went to 13% interest, and 6 years after that, it was 20-something% interest. So they just piled interest on us young guys, and I didn't know anything. I would have a pocket full of money and would go use my DPP. So lessons learned. It took me about 10 years to finally get that thing paid off, and then me and my wife got into some Dave Ramsey stuff, learned some stuff about debt, learned some stuff about getting some stuff paid off. Then I had some a financial advisor, Aviano. She taught us about whole life insurance. So that's where my insurance life started, in Aviano, with this lady. I can't even remember her name, but and then it was a situation where my wife almost died way back after my son was born, and I would have been stuck like Chuck. I don't know what I would have did. And they didn't have anything back then like GoFundMe. They didn't have stuff like that. So I would have had a newborn baby. He was newborn at an 8-month-old in a house with a dead wife, and I don't know what I would have did. So yeah, that's where that is, the insurance piece of it. So the serial entrepreneur came in. I retired from the Air Force, and I've been punching the clock since I was 18 years old. Every day, get up, punch a clock. Every day, get up, punch a clock. So then I taught high school for a year, and that was cool, but it was still, I still feel like I'm not reaching my full potential.
Yeah.
So in a couple of months, I will no longer be punching the clock. I will be full time in my various businesses, and I am the make or break it. You know, I'm no longer bound to whether or not somebody's going to write me an award or whether or not the government's going to give me a bonus. I earn my own bonuses, right? And I do the work, I get paid. And the funny thing is, I can make so much. My life could change by just a little bit more.
Yep.
With that little bit more effort, my life could change completely. So yeah, there you go.
It's crazy you say that, because like you said, everybody, including you and myself that I met throughout this military journey, we kind of had that same thing. Like, I know there's more.
Mm-hmm.
I love my family, friends, and loved ones. They're not doing anything wrong, but they can only teach me what they know, and nobody taught them.
Right.
And
absolutely.
I was sort of like how you was your uncle. It was my dad for me. He was like, you need to go ahead and sign up for the military. Nobody in the family had ever been. I'm the first one. I'm like, why me? What's going on? Like, I'm the dude that paid attention in school. Like, they have wars every 10 years, and you're telling me to go now. That means about a year or two, we're gonna be having another war. And I'm like, well, it can't be that bad. So I follow, because we that do as you say, do as I say, not as I do generation. We didn't ask questions. We just
right.
Sure enough, I wasn't even in the military 6 months. War.
Right.
2010, September 11th. And it was like, wow. And so that went on, and I did the same thing. Nobody taught me about the credit cards and all that. I ran up stuff, payday loans, made all the same mistakes. Like, nobody said anything.
Right.
And the thing that saved me was deployments. Because a reason I say that, because you go on them deployments, you're out in the middle of nowhere. You can have all the payday loans you want to, but if you can't go into the store to pay they're gonna cash that check. I'm sorry, I'm old. They had checks back then. You had to write a check. They cash them, so it's like, well, I guess I'm out of that, and it led me down the same path as you, was just punching clocks, trying to get awards.
Right.
And you're just sitting there like, what do I do? And I'm glad you highlighted on the insurance thing, and I'm glad everything worked out for. Thank God that your wife's still here. Like, by talking about that, you're explaining something that is also not taught in our community. Right. How do we prepare for these situations that we know is going to happen? It's inevitable. You can't stop it. Right. So I would like for you to explain to us, because so many of us, we hear the regular just get insurance. And I'm like, but which one? Like, we all go with the generic on the cheapest one you could find and be like, well, they say my policy is $200,000 and I pay $50 a month. I guess that's good enough. Right. But there's so much more out there, and we need you to tell us what are those options?
Okay, so much more. So the reason why I call myself the urban life insurance agent, that's not because I'm cutting a certain demographic off. I'm from the hood, right? And there's a large amount of people who don't understand what this does for you, right? So if you have to, when you have a car, you have to have insurance. If you own a house, you can't get the loan without insurance. Now, if I told you choose between your life, your car, and your house, 100% of your people, 100% of people will choose that their life was the most important thing in their lives and to them. But no one insures your life, right? Everybody loves their family. Everybody loves their kids. But we don't set aside something for that purpose. There's one thing. Now, I don't want to get political or get into, opinions about birth, but there's one thing is certain. 100% certain. Everybody who is pregnant will not be born. But everybody that gets pregnant, we're all going to die. And that's something that we have to prepare for. And as I learned this insurance life, there's so many options out here, and I'm just going to explain a few. So I'm going to start from the bottom, which is your most basic. When you see those commercials on TV, they say get $1 million worth of insurance for $5 a month. Well, that's true if you're a 20-year-old super fit white woman. 100% true. But if you're older than 30, if you're older than 40, especially if you're older than 60, it is not going to be that cheap. So we'll start with term life. Term is just what it sounds. It's for a term period, right? It's for a period of time, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. And that's going to be your cheapest option for the highest value.
Okay.
In other words, I can get a lot for a little. I can get more in term. But the problem with term, yes, it's the cheapest. If that's all you can afford, that's all you can afford. If you can get $100,000 for only $25 a month, that's great. But for that 25 years, once that 25-year period is over, on the first month after that 25-year period, that money is gone, never to be touched again. It's in the pockets of the insurance company. That's if you can afford it, you switch to whole life insurance. Whole life is just like it sounds. It's for the rest of your life. You pay one premium, however much it is, for the rest of your life. The cool thing about whole life is it has a cash value. So if you get in a jam 10, 15 years down the road, you can borrow money from your policy. Now, you can pay it back or you don't have to pay it back. The life insurance company cuts a contract with you that says we're going to pay you this amount of money. They're still going to pay that amount of money among your death, but it's what we call living benefits. You have a living benefit and it's your cash value. You can touch that cash, you can pay it back, and sometimes it grows at a rate of 4, 5, 6%, depending upon what company you're with. So that's whole life. Then you get into a whole bunch of other things. You start talking about universal life. You start talking about index universal life. And those are real cool because you can just dump money in there like a savings account and it's growing like a weed. It's growing like a weed. My personal life index universal life policy has a cap of 12%.
Okay.
So if the market is doing really, really good, I'm doing good, right? Because I'm getting 12% of my money in it. At the end of the year, they cash me out, put it in my policy, and it never goes down. So some people use this as a strategy to combat what the markets do with their stocks and with their mutual funds. So it's just a strategy. And the final one is what we call final expense. This is for your older people, 50 and above. With them, this is guaranteed coverage.
Okay.
Skip medical, no blood drawn, no exams, no nothing like that. If you're fairly healthy, you can get insured. Now, this is the one that most people don't realize they need because after you're 50 and 60, you don't think you can afford it. Okay. It's a smaller policy, about 30,000, 40,000, and maybe it'll cost you somewhere between $50 to $100, but it's something. So you don't have to bear that burden. I've seen so many families torn apart over funeral expenses. Man. It's funny. I was watching Steve Harvey the other day, and these girls were like sisters, but she didn't have the money, so she had to borrow it from her cousin, which was like her sister. Tore these girls apart.
Wow.
Over $5,000.
Wow.
$5,000. So if you go on GoFundMe right now, I checked it the other day, there's 120 pages dedicated to help me pay for my family's funeral expenses.
Wow.
120 pages, not 120.
Yeah, pages.
Pages. So that's about 6 to 12 each. So that right there in a nutshell. And what, if you have cousins, your cousins can put to, let's say it's 6 of y'all. Let's say it's 5, just for even.
Okay.
5 of you can spend $18 a month and make sure for $96 and make sure our 64-year-old grandmother has a nice funeral. Because when you're in the funeral, you don't want to think about cutting costs. You want to do the best for your grandma. Raised us. Grandma took care of us. She gave us everything we needed. And now at this moment, we can't take care of grandma. And I don't want that to happen in people's lives. And for young people like ourselves, we want to leave a legacy to our families. If I have the means, I want to put them in a situation that's better than I am. Talking about Master P, I know I've been running my mouth, but
you good.
Got me going on this was we had a family member in my family that died, and it was that situation where we had to scrounge together money at the last minute to make sure that this person was taken care of, excuse me. And this person was a very important person in our lives. And it shouldn't have been like that.
Exactly.
Then I watched Master, I don't know, Master P was being interviewed by somebody. Master P, his net worth is up in the hundreds of millions. I think it's like $600 million.
Yep.
He got his start from a $10,000 that his grandmother left each and every one of his grandkids. Pause for a second. There was 8 of them. She left 8 of them $10,000. 7 of them burned through it.
Burned through it.
1 of them came up. So then it comes to teaching our children what to do when they have these types of money and what to do with it. So that's what I'm about. I'm about teaching and learning. And for us as military members, if we never talk about it because they gave us the SGLI. Oh, I got life insurance. No big deal.
Yeah.
So then when we get out, okay, I'll give you the VGLI. But hold up for a second. Read the fine print. The VGLI, every 5 years, it goes up.
Yep.
And guess what? The price goes up. But what you get goes down.
Exactly.
So I talk to all of my military members and I say, hey, that $500,000 for $80 a month sounds good today.
Yep.
But when you start getting older, get some. You can still have that When I got out, I got $350,000 worth of insurance, the whole life for $300 a month, and I'm still paying that $300 a month, right? And I still have $350,000 no matter what, right?
Yep.
So now when I turn 80, I still got $350,000, but with that VGLI, it's going down, and that's money that I don't work for. That's money that I get. It comes directly out of my retirement check. So I never see it. And it's growing at a clip that that's higher than the bank. So that's what life insurance can do for you. But here's the key, bro. You got to get it.
Yes.
I had a couple. I had a lady about 3 months ago. No, she died about 3 months ago, but I was in her house about 9 months ago. And she told me no.
Wow.
And I did everything I could to explain to her that you need this. You have the money. She said, no, let me think about it. So she died. Her family found my card. They were excited. Where do we find her policy? I said, well, what's her name? Oh, no. She told me no. She turned me down and I couldn't convince her. I called her back. She hung up on me. I called her back again. And she never answered my calls. Your grandmother did not get that policy.
Wow.
And they were mad at me. Right.
What they expected you to do?
What's your license number? You gypped my grandmother? No, I didn't.
How you gyp somebody without getting the money from them?
Right. Because I didn't get paid. Right.
Wow.
So so that's what it's about. I could tell you for as little as, but we can find a policy that fits your budget to do what you need to do. Now, when I say to do what you need to do, the question is, am I trying to leave a legacy or I just need burial expenses? If you got a little money in your pocket, you're trying to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
If you don't, you want to leave burial expenses in a little bit so that your family can move on.
Yes.
And we can find something in any one of those areas. But remember, after you turn 50, they're barely going to give you a term policy. You're not going to be able to find a term policy because the life expectancy for men is 75 and for women is 80.
Yep.
They try to cut you off there and you can only do whole life after that. But there's different companies with different policy, different ranges. So we can find a company, even if you have pre-existing conditions, we can help you out. So, yeah. So I'm contracted. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I'm personally contracted in about 6 states, but I can write in all 50 states of the United States. It just takes a little bit more doing. So for all your viewers, you can go on my website, www.impactfinalexpenses.com, sign up right there, put your name in. We'll give you a call a couple of days later. Look me up on Facebook at Urban Life Insurance Agent on Facebook. and it's a short consult. We just ask you a few questions, and we see what you qualify for, see what your budget is, and we can get you in.
So you said a couple things, and everybody has social media. Everybody pops up and they give like, oh, you do this for generational wealth, or you do this, and we got this policy, and everybody knows, like, is this person really telling me the truth, or they trying to scam? Like, for example, like one that you hear going around now is like UIL.
Yeah, and IULs.
IULs, yes, right. IULs. And it's like I read the comments and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. Are you just saying this? Like, can you explain to those individuals out there that see this, what is the IUL?
I wish I would have. I wish I'd have known you was going to ask this question. I'd had a PowerPoint presentation for you. IUL is it's not a lie, right? But it's not your retirement either.
Okay.
An IUL is really, really good if you have the money to fund it.
Okay.
So here's what it boils down to in a nutshell. There's one price that you're paying for insurance, and there's another price that you fund. There's another. So let's say it's really easy. Let's say it's $100 a month that you're paying. Probably 50 of that is paying for life insurance. The other 50 of that is going straight to your cash value to grow. Okay. The cool thing is, after a while, notice I said after a while, because it takes time, maybe about 6 to 8 to 9 years, depending upon how much money they'll balance out.
Okay.
So $50 is for the cost of insurance. The other $50 is to fund your future. Okay. What you want to do in the IUL is not just put money in the IUL. You want to put money in the IUL.
Yeah.
It's not for just the minimum. Let me say it that way. You want to overfund it as much as you can, because during that overfund, this company is giving you that whatever the market's doing, it's giving you that, right? Up to 12%, 8%, whatever that is. But you got to fund it. It's like, remember the Little Shop of Horror?
Yep.
When you fed when they fed the Venus flytrap and it grew.
Yep.
If you don't feed it, it's not going to grow. And IUL is a monster that you got to feed. And it is very beneficial if you feed that monster. If you don't feed the monster, you might as well just got regular life insurance.
So when you're saying feed it, for those out there, because we're saying this and people, because everybody's understanding. I did not know this until I left the military. I really didn't. Because in the military, we're looking at money. And we're all talking money along the same wavelengths, from pay grades to budgeting because of finance and contracting. We all understood it at the same level. But then when I got out, I'm like, wow, everybody's thought process on money and what they consider rich or wealthy it's different. Right. So when you're listening and telling people about IUL and you're saying, no, you gotta put money in it. It ain't just
you gotta feed it. You gotta feed it. So
give that borderline bottom line of, this is the type of money you need to be putting in. Don't sugarcoat it. Just tell them.
Yeah, you need to. So it just depends. It depends on how much your policy is, right? So there's a cap. Once you reach that cap, whatever that cap is, you got to be careful, because then if you go over that amount, then it's what they call an endowment, and now it can be taxed.
Yep.
But don't worry about that. So think about us when we joined. Were they still doing a GI? Did you still have to pay for the GI Bill when you joined?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we joined,
it stopped about 5 or 6 years after me.
So think about that. That $100 a month that they took from me, right?
Yeah.
To pay, and then they end up giving everybody it for free. But I'm not even gonna get into that.
Yeah, don't
so the money that they took, right, that I never seen before. If I would, at the time, I probably could have got a good $300,000 policy for $100 a month. If I would have fed that IUL, I would have probably been a millionaire off $100 a month, because we got bonuses, right? Then I could have dumped my bonus money in there, right? Your TDYs, you dump your TDY money in there, right? Then the money you don't need, and then then we went overseas, right, and got cola that I really didn't need. I could have dumped all my cola money in there. For $100 a month, constantly, right? I would have had $1 million in 20 years with the current rates and how everything went if they were offering the same cap rates in 1993. So it's possible, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to find an agent that structures it correctly, and you have to be disciplined.
Yep.
And when I say disciplined is by the time I was 30, I would have had a good $18,000, right? And I would have saw a new Cadillac or I would have saw a new Lexus, right? So you got to be disciplined. You have to be taught how to use it and how to use it for the right things. Now, if you want to get into real estate, about halfway through, I could have took that money, bought a piece of property, refinanced the property, paid myself back. Now my IUL is paying me. So there's a lot of things you can do, but you got to use it the right way. That's the IUL.
So you said something, and I don't want anybody to miss it, because when you said the overpaying it, and now you're getting taxed. But at the same time, if anybody understood what Dan was saying about just dumping your money in, like got a bonus here, got this. I can't speak from the 9 to 5 part of it because I have removed myself from that life.
Right.
So for those of you out there, you have to figure that part, do that research unless we find something else. But I know for entrepreneurs, people that are building businesses, and you hear all like the super wealthy people like, oh, he didn't get taxed and he didn't pay taxes. So I want you to understand. These IULs that Dan is talking about, if you're an entrepreneur, these are those ways that you put your money into that is tax deferred. So you could take that out of your profits. That's how you break down not getting away, but without paying taxes. Because you already said you put it in there and they get taxes, make so much money, put it into real estate, because believe it or not, that's also a tax write-off. And then you flip it back. You're writing off your stuff on taxes, but you're making your net worth grow.
Yes,
that's part of it.
Absolutely. So they have the wealthy have their money in life insurance. The wealthy have their money in stocks and bonds. They don't own anything. So another thing that you brought up that you could possibly do is you could retire tax free.
Yep.
So the $1 million that I was talking about that I could have had, what I could do is I could break myself off every month of what my cash value is, and I'm borrowing from my life insurance policy, but I'm living off my life insurance policy. I'm borrowing from myself, and that's tax-free because you're borrowing. It's not something that you pay for, it's something that you borrow. So there's a lot of different strategies, but what people have to understand is you got to feed it. An IUL is useless if you do not feed it. Every extra piece of money you get, it needs to go feed that IUL.
Man, I'm amazed this comes because I'm one of those people. I go down rabbit holes, and in the generation, I don't want to say generation because I don't want to make it seem like it's a group of peers. The era that we live in right now is different than the era that we grew up in. When we were growing up, death, nobody thought about it until you got old.
Right.
Unless somebody had some medical issue.
Right.
Now the era we live in, these kids are out here dying. They're shooting women and children in schools. You can't even go to the gas station sometimes.
Right. Absolutely.
And I say that because as we're talking and somebody's listening, they're probably thinking, I'm the dad, I'm the mom, we got insurance. But I want you to understand, you still need to do this for your kids as well.
Still need to do it for your children.
So how do policies work for doing that for your kids?
Oh man, I just wrote about 8 policy for some kids about a couple of months ago. It's a whole lot cheaper. And let me help you out with this. Let's say you get a $50, if you can afford $50 a month for your child and put it in an IUL when they're born.
Yep.
By the time they're 18, you won't have college issues. At all. That is a strategy where you could pay for college. And that strategy that pay for college is not even a 529 strategy, it's straight life insurance. And what if they don't? What if you're in our situation? They don't need the money. Well, you keep it going. So by the time that person has a baby and they're 30, your kid could be a millionaire, right? It's what we call the $1 million baby. But so these are the things that we need to learn and understand, right? And at the same time, you have this child. You've been putting this $50 a month in this whole life policy or this IUL for however long, and you get into a situation, right? You can flip that to a term life. You can still pay the same amount of money. You can take all of that money out and take care of your situation. So you can use life insurance also as a savings account.
Yep.
That has a huge benefit. And one thing that I learned about life insurance, you can run all the numbers. I don't care what agent you go to. You will never pay what they're going to give you ever.
Yep.
It'll never happen. And if you do pay into what they're going to give you, they're going to say, stop. Here, take this money because you've paid for the insurance. So I don't expect to ever pay an insurance company $300 and something thousand. I don't expect a $25 policy a month to ever pay off a $100,000 policy. The trade-off is so much better, and you have so much of a peace of mind.
Yep.
And here's another thing that people don't realize. There's a fund out there right now. It's called the Emergency Relief Fund.
Okay.
This Emergency Relief Fund is life insurance that's been cooped up in this company to pay out to somebody who died, but no one ever claimed it.
Wow.
And you know what that does? All that does is make the rich get richer. So if we want to complain about the rich getting richer, that's on us. So when I do get a life insurance policy, make sure you share it with the people that need to know. Don't hide it.
Yeah.
Right? Tell the people that need to know this is where it is. This is where it's at. This is what you need to get to. Because I guarantee you, some of those people paying for chicken dinners and some of those people on GoFundMe, they got something. They just don't know where it is.
Exactly.
Because grandma never told them.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm all about helping others learn. And so I'm just gonna give a tidbit for somebody that's out there that's listening, especially when it comes to insurance. Most of us think, to make sure somebody gets buried and then there's money left over. I'm trying to teach people about this generational wealth, how to get it to go just right. So I don't know how many people understand what a trust is. The part that comes with a trust is that's where that life insurance, you make the trust your beneficiary. So when somebody passes away and life insurance is needed, it goes into the trust. Yes, you can get what you need out of that for the funeral arrangements and all that, but that trust starts operating as your family's bank.
Yes.
And you utilize that to continue to compound. Because let's be honest, Dan already said it. Everybody's going to die. Can you imagine if grandma and grandpa pass away, money goes into the trust, mom and dad are still paying, taking care of stuff, but the trust feeds a little stuff in there. The trust can take care of it, for all we know, the payments that for everybody's insurance in the beginning, because we have to start somewhere. Then mom and dad pass away and that money folds into the trust. And guess what? Now kids grow up and you make the will and trust a certain way with the beneficiary to each kid gets the first house bought out of the trust, because by now the trust is amassing millions. And it's paying everybody's life insurance. It buys the first house. It's so many ways this goes. Don't think that the life insurance is just, I got a barrel and everybody got 300,000 and we're going to split it 10 ways. And then you look like Master P's family, where one person does something with it and the other people will. That's the part of a trust. A trust protects the family so that you can build the generational wealth. That's a whole other segment though, but
absolutely. So I think the key that I've learned in this as an entrepreneur is the key to what you just said. We know a lot, but we got to take action. We got to take action. If everyone took action on these YouTube videos that we watch all the time, we would be we would be a lot better. But we need to take action. A lot of stuff is lost because we don't take action. So I knew that I was supposed to start a church in Aviano, but I also knew that I had a good package for senior, but I had to make a decision, right? You got to make a decision. And what was more important, right? Was it more important these people in their lives, or was it more important to get another stripe, right? So, and by just simply saying I will and I'm gonna do it, so many people's lives were changed that I can't even put my finger on it. A whole community was changed. How about that? Just by somebody taking action. And for your listeners, your whole family life could be changed. For your grandsons and your great grandsons that you never meet, by just you taking action. And that's
Exactly.
just, I've learned that we have to be people, because we got a lot of people that talk, but we have to be people of action.
I'm glad you said that, because before I even let you go, I want people to understand what that taking action part means. Because so many of us in the world that we live in today, we're like, have that mindset, well, what do I get out of it?
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody to understand, especially when we're talking about this conversation now, this is part of the change in life that is not meant for you to get something out of. Yeah, you might get a nice house. You might take a couple of vacations. You might even get a shiny new car. But this is your part of you taking action to change the generation for people you most likely will never meet. You might,
Never meet,
your
right.
kids. You might meet a grandkid. You're blessed to see great grandkids.
Right.
But for
Absolutely.
the most part, if you do it right, and as Dan said, you start teaching your kids this early, start setting them
Right.
up early, let them
Right.
understand. I promise you, the person that made Johnson & Johnson, the people behind Walmart, the people behind all these big brands, like you see Jeff Bezos, you see all of these people, they have made changes in their families' lives that are going to affect people that they didn't even know. I'm pretty sure the person that made Walmart, I forgot his name right now, but he was,
Walmart.
Yeah, his last name was Walmart, but I was thinking about his first name. He was not thinking about, or maybe he was. He did. Walmart blew up, and he didn't get to see all the blow up. His grandkids and great grandkids did.
Right.
Like, it's so many things that are going on in the world and nobody thinks past. To understand, like, the creator of Johnson & Johnson's family never has to work again.
Absolutely.
Are you going to be the person to take action to make your family not have to work again?
Absolutely. You got to take action.
Now, before I let you go, because I don't know if we got some late people that came on and didn't catch it in the beginning. For somebody that's trying to get in touch with you to take action for themselves and get their life insurance plans and get whatever they need for their family, and they need somebody to talk to and ask questions, how can they get in touch with you?
So first, you can go to our website, www.impactfinalexpenses.com, and you can get all of the information about the different types of life insurance on the website. And then on the upper right hand corner of the website, you can just sign up, put your name, your phone number, state you live in, and we'll get you squared away. Also, you can hit us up on Facebook at the Urban Life Insurance Agent. That's where I am. So those two places are the quickest places to get in touch with me. You can leave my phone number down on a YouTube page, 316-252-5188. We can have all kind of discussions. We can have all kind of discussions. We have all kind of conversations. But at the end of the day, you got to take action, right? At the end of the day, I saw a guy. I follow the guys on Earn Your Leisure, right?
Yep.
And one of them said something that was just so profound. It was mind blowing. He said, "How do we end violence in our communities? How do we end violence in our community?" And it seems like it's a really, really hard thing to do, right? Yep. He said, "Everybody get life insurance."
Man,
if we got $1 million policies on Pookie and Ray Ray, and Pookie and Ray Ray was being gunned down in the streets, you best believe the people from Wells Fargo and Transamerica and all these companies are going to put a stop to that, because they do not like paying. If everybody's coming up all of a sudden because my children are dying in the streets, I guarantee you that the violence will end, because it is not affecting them. But when it starts to affect people's pockets, then it's a problem. So, or you can reach us at on my email at dan@impactfinalexpenses.com or impactfes@gmail.com. The name of the company is Impact Final Expenses, and I'm the Urban Life Insurance Agent at Impact Final Expenses. So there you go.
If anybody missed that, don't be worried. I'm going to make sure all that information gets down in the YouTube description. If you're not subscribed, Strategic Dope on YouTube. Man, I must say again, on behalf of everybody, Dan, man, we appreciate you for coming on, man. You spread knowledge that we all needed, and we want to thank you for that.
No problem.
Now, I don't want you to go nowhere. Stay right with me, man. I want to talk to you right after the show. Don't go anywhere. But again, thank you. And brother, I will see you on the other side. God bless y'all and God keep you. Man, I hope everybody learned something because, man, the nuggets that Dan dropped today, and again, I'm putting that information in the description box. Oh, it just hit me. Sam Walton, that's Walmart. You want to do some research on them, go do that, because there's so many individuals that are already utilizing the information that Dan has already told us, but he broke it down a little more. And if you need more, please, please, please don't hesitate to contact him, because he said, if you want to make a change, this is one of the ways to do it, because best believe if all of our young people that are losing their lives to senseless violence, if companies started having to pay out all these millions and millions of dollars, I bet you will see gun laws change. I bet you will see urban development. I bet you will see money poured back into neighborhoods. And I bet you'll see rules made and changed to help with the issues that we have going on in the various communities around the world, and to include mine, the Black community. I promise you, everything that you heard from Dan was the information you needed. As always, I thank you all for tuning in. Don't be surprised, because we're going to have another amazing guest next week. So please make sure you tune in every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Thursday. Thank you all for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week. But until then, remember to always live in your purpose, with purpose, on purpose. See y'all next week.
I'm back.
Every time I walk out that door, every time I interact with anybody new, my purpose is to help change.
It's time to celebrate life. If you know that you're in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know you want better for your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you have what it takes to be in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you are not just trying to be good for you, but for those around you, it's time to stand up. As a matter of fact, look to the person to your left and tell them you are enough.
I want to help you change, and just like you change, every time I interact with somebody, they help me change. It's no different than if I met an individual and they had 4 quarters and they needed change, or if I had $1 and they had 4 quarters, I need to change. We can swap the money. The value is still the same. They still got $1, I still got $1, but we both exchanged something, and it was a change for both of us. So every time I walk out that door, I inspire to help change lives just as much as lives have changed me.
Y'all been listening to the wrong people, watching the wrong things all your life, and it's time to put to rest all those negative thoughts, because you are enough. It's time to put to rest that self-doubt, because you are enough. It is time to get rid of that negative energy, because you are enough. It is time to stop listening to people that don't have the best interests of you in your life, because you are enough. So let's have a moment of silence. I want everybody to understand that you are the person that's in charge of your life. Everything that you have inside of you to be who you're supposed to be in life. You have a destiny, and that destiny can only be accomplished through you, by you, and only you, with the help of God. When you realize that you are the person you are, because you're not a carbon copy, there's only one you. They try to put you in a box. Society tries to put you in a box, but you can't be in a box. How can you be in a box when there's only one you? But then they tell you, think outside the box. What I'm trying to get you to understand is there is no box.
I want to pass on the things that I have to the generations behind me. By the time it's time for me to get called home and go to the grave, I want to be empty. I believe in bankrupting the cemetery, so I can't take this knowledge with me, because the cemetery is already full of brilliant ideas and unwritten books and innovative ideas. I can't take this with me, so I'm trying to leave it all here as Billy Graham Jr. to the next generation so somebody else can carry it on.